What's up? Today's the 9th of March 2018. It's a personal vlog time. So, over time I've noticed when I've been keeping track of not only Lords of the Day, which is whatever planet rules the day. So, for everybody who's new to that concept, the three ancient ether lords or ancient rulers of the day back in ancient medieval astrology would be the Sun, Sunday, Moon, Moon Day, or Monday, and then Mars, which is Tuesday, and that rules Scorpio and Aries. Then we have Mercury Day, which is Wednesday, middle or thought day, and then Thor, which is associated with Jupiter, Thursday, and then Friday, which is Venus Day, which rules obviously Taurus as well as Libra, and then backtrack here, Jupiter or Jupiter's Day, Thursday, rules over Neptune, which is Pisces, and Sagittarius, and then Saturday is Saturn Day, Satan's Day, which is Saturn ruling that day. And you also can break it down by minute and hour, hence with sundials and even with ancient Egypt theology, them using Horus to track the hour of the day, and the moon actually tracks the month and the minute. That's why we have full moons and every calendar month, etc., except for the once in a blue moon or the blue moons, which happen primarily during the calendar months that are usually like 31 days, 30 days in duration, and have a full moon on the first of that month, and then at the end of the month, that sort of thing. But you can also track in a microcosmic level the lords of the hour on particular days. And today being Friday, it was when it was, I believe, Sun hour, or might have been Mars hour. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, no, because it was when it was Saturn hour. Essentially, when it happened. So I've noticed with myself that everybody has their own synchronistic flow or whatever with the planet rulers of the day, depending on the day that they were born, and certain aspects in their chart or whatever. So I noticed that with it's literally clockwork. Literally, in fact, most of the controversial or intuitive kind of things that I end up posting, either screen caps of, or when I am actually saying something to someone, and because I'm a screen cap queen, I collect them all the time. That if you actually look up in the corner of my screenshots that are on my phone, the Saturn symbol is primarily there all the freaking time. And the only other one that's usually there most of the time is Jupiter, which is the polarity of that, knowledge through Saturn. But I've noticed too that, and people that have followed me have known that I've come up against a lot of opposition and conflict, primarily when I do say stuff online, or when I post things that I'm thinking about, or that I'm actually channeling, that sort of thing, because of the intuitive, akashic, psychic shit I have. So I've had a lifelong history of having electronics malfunction around me. Like, I can never keep one in good condition or whatever, despite taking well care of it. And I always have some sort of major interference, and primarily that does have a lot to do with some sort of really intense electromagnetic neurological activity going on in my head. I have in medical astrology predispositions for brain aneurysms, too much blood flow. I get migraines from that. I get excessive bloody noses to basically rectify that. And I have a lot of excess bleeding from the head, more or less, like through my mouth and through my nose and stuff, primarily when I'm getting some of these headaches, or primarily when I'm having a huge head rush, more or less. And that does correlate yet again with a lot of the neurological stuff. And what irritated me is that I was beginning to believe when I would continually get report bugs on my BlackBerry for having malfunctions, or having issues with actual Wi-Fi connectivity, or in general, I can actually, depending on how intense the ideations and thoughts are getting in my head, which is again correlated with malfunctioning of my electronics, my phone primarily having Wi-Fi signals, its data, etc., the apps working, the actual system itself just blacking out and saying error, actually has a direct reaction to this overwhelming yeah, mental state or electromagnetic going through my body, and fucking pisses me the fuck off. And so I was thinking that the whole, again, the bug reports and, having issues connecting to Facebook or this and that, or uploading stuff or whatever, or my phone just like shutting down, losing battery life out of nowhere, was primarily because I was in the process, or I was actively trying to share something that, quote unquote, the collective would not want me to. But I just learned something fascinating today in recent times throughout this, like, last week or so, just because of me being permanently blocked from Facebook and me having not so many outlets to feel, this compulsive urge to actually blab and share some of the shit I've been thinking of. I haven't had the option to, so I'm breaking that habitual behavior. But as I was having one of those intuitive moments in the, like, I was just thinking to myself, I had 60-something% battery life, and then within, like, not even, it wouldn't have even been an hour duration, that 60% me doing absolutely fucking nothing with my phone. I actually wasn't even doing anything with my phone. I was, writing something down. It started to lose battery life, like, in huge, massive chunks. And even me putting it on battery save mode, and then even putting it on airplane mode to make sure that it didn't kill any more battery. Still. And then what's weird is, like, as soon as I, like, finished a really, like, deep train of thought with something that I was trying to place together, though the moment that I, like, finished my whole train of thought, as I was trying to think of how do I sum this up, what am I trying to say, and I wrote it down specifically in those moments when I finally, like, got the Akashic Mad Libs together, and I wrote it out and organized it. At that moment, then my phone's notifying me that I need to connect to a Wi-Fi, even though I'm not using the fucking phone, and I'm not using an app to connect to it, and it's acting the same as if I had just literally uploaded something that it didn't like me to say. And I'm just like, so, I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. The spirits have told me that when you're revealing something, quote unquote, you're having like a Pythagoras moment, which is, enlightenment from the heavens, that it does cause some sort of chaos, and that chaos is drawn to you, or that chaotic things will happen as a result of you having these moments. But the problem that I have is that those aren't even that's not even my choice to have those. I'm getting those from an external source. So it's like the whole, my limited, human perception of that's not fair, and that's my Libra thing, that's not fair. I'm like, how is it my fault, and why am I actually, cursed, or, have to endure the repercussions of something that I didn't even ask for? And I'm just like, I know that the universe isn't fair, and I know that, yeah, so I know that there's, like, more of a cosmic, or, like, a physics kind of, or biological reasoning for it, and I'm trying to explain to myself that that's what comes first, that biology and everything like that is not fair. And I just did an actual tarot spread for this, and it says essentially the cards are worry, lovers, the moon, abundance, valor, and wealth. So the worry card has a couple of different associations in it. It's to do primarily with Mercury and Venus associations in the 5th house. So the physical and mental effects of the communication between the moon, the soul, gives an abundance of valor, would be associated with energy, essentially, to the mundane and mind. So it's the actual transgression of the message or the channeling that I get that directly causes some sort of actual physiological effects or repercussions, or has some sort of actual physical symptoms that arise as that are caused by this actual channeling moment. And
bonus time.
And now it's Venus time. Lovely. And I'm just irritated. I'm just irritated. And I know that I just need to let it calm down, and I'm so fucking mad. I'm so fucking mad for like like psychotically and irrationally mad. Worst time for disciplining, training any physically or mentally complex activities. Well suited for experiencing something new, reconsidering procedural judgments, methods, taking another look at unsolved problems, appreciating. Yeah, so I'm already on top of that. I get it, thanks. Social activities, visits. Oh my god. So what cracks me up too is this Planetary Times app I use. I'm at 1% spiritual. Yeah, no, I know for a fact that what I'm dealing with is totally like spiritual things that I don't want most of the time. And that's not me trying to hate on things, it's just like, I know that this is when I'm way too spiritual. So I think this goes back to, despite the fact of how accurate this thing can be sometimes, I still think the formula that I'm the polar opposite of everything still applies. So what the fuck is going on right this second? Failure. Change. Okay, so let me got my fucking mess. So what the fuck is going on at this moment? Sorrow and failure. Change. So the problem that's going on right now is that I'm still failing to look at the intuitive and special relationship I have with my soul and use it in a constructive, loving, or victorious kind of way. And it's not that. It's not that. I mean, it's obviously a slow process, but there's just some things that I still just don't get. And I'm obviously having one of those moments where I'm just totally not grasping it. And the great thing about that is that when I'm like that, especially when I'm this like adamant about it, that means I'm very, very fucking close to actually understanding it or having like my misconceptions or my misunderstandings resolved. So I'm gonna see if my spirit buddy Miyu wants to give me any sort of constructive advice or input or anything that can help me to accept this and just tell me what I'm fucking missing. You know, I'm not being angry or trying to be upset at you. I'm not upset at you. I'm not upset about learning about anything like that. So please don't take it that way. It's more or less that I'm irritated about the physiological repercussions of getting the information, because I actually thought that there was the malfunctions and the bullshit going on, not because of the actual, act itself of receiving any of the messages from you or whatever, but it was primarily because of the way I was actually sharing it. I thought that the chaos was basically a disciplinary reaction or some sort of punishment for how I was trying to convey what you taught me or what you're showing me. And so I'm misunderstanding why the electronic malfunctions happen. And I just kind of want some clarity with that, because it bothers me. Because I've made a conscious effort to change, like, my, compulsive, overwhelming behavior, to not do that. And then for me to, how hard that is for me to turn around and find out that it wasn't actually because of my overzealous, urgencies to talk about it that's causing this, but it's the actual transgression of the message that's causing this bothers me. So does that mean I'm supposed to still share it the way I was? Is there any way around this? Is this something I need to just deal with, or what? I guess those are the answers I'm looking for. Hi, spirit buddy. You want to give me any kind of insight? It's bond. Okay? Okay? So it's our bond that you're insinuating that causes these things. Sigh. Okay?
Preach.
Preach. So I am supposed to talk about it. Okay, so what are your suggestions are probably to just stay away from electronics when I'm having these moments, right? That would explain why my electronics die. Right? This is why intuitive people repeated. Okay, that's all it had to say to me. Okay, so since that wasn't actually on blast, let's see. This was obviously having one of those moments fucking close to you wants to give me any sort of constructive advice or input or anything that can help me to accept this and just tell me what I'm fucking missing. I'm not being angry or trying to be upset at you. I'm not upset at you. I'm not upset about worrying about anything like that. So please don't take it that way. It's more or less that I'm irritated about the physiological repercussions of getting the information, because I actually thought that there was the malfunctions and the bullshit going on, not because of the actual, act itself of receiving any of the messages from you or whatever, but it was primarily because of the way I was actually sharing it. I thought that the chaos was basically a disciplinary reaction or some sort of punishment for how I was trying to convey what you taught me or what you're showing me. And so I'm misunderstanding why the electronic malfunctions happen. And I just kind of want some clarity with that, because it bothers me. Because I've made a conscious effort to change, like, my, compulsive, overwhelming behavior, to not do that, and then for me to, how hard that is for me to turn around and find out that it wasn't actually because of my overzealous, urgencies to talk about it that's causing this, but it's the actual transgression of the message that's causing this bothers me. So does that mean I'm supposed to still share it the way I was? Is there any way around this? Is this something I need to just deal with, or what? I guess those are the answers I'm looking for. Hi, spirit buddy. You want to give me any kind of insight? It's bond. Okay? Okay? So it's our bond that you're insinuating that causes these things. Sigh. Okay? So you said bond, it's our bond. And then he literally said sigh, because he does convey like kind of his emotions or his perception of me. He obviously can't sigh, so he said sigh. Preach. So I am supposed to talk about it. Okay, so what are your suggestions? Are probably to just stay away from electronics when I'm having these moments, right? That would explain why my electronics die. Before I had this discussion, there was an overwhelming, theme of defeat of the self, and then during the discussion, there was some sort of, basically strengthening or encouragement or valor, primarily to do with others, which is my spirit buddy, and that overall at the end there is a completion or an understanding of what I should be doing, and not to take the interference as a sign of discouragement, but as a physiological issue. So let's see. For some reason I want to do this. There's like this Celtic cross kind of reading or whatever that I've seen before. It's like an actual cross. And for some reason I feel the need to do that right now, except for to take out the middle part. Because then it represents all the angular houses. So the actual action of this discussion was triggered by some sort of ruining, the self and being associated with something of ruining or ruin, and the overall and wanting to potentially gain something out of basically my electronics just dying by changing my perception of my disappointment, by seeking information from the MC, which is the heavens and the spirit entities and stuff like that. So, preach. Okay, alright. Well, I mean, I kind of already assumed that this is what it was, but I guess it's just something that it's the essential ripping off the band-aid thing. I'm not gonna get unmad about this until I calm down, but at least the clarification is, because I wasn't necessarily aware of this, but my spirit buddy is definitely a little bit more emotionally sensitive than I am. And I know that in my chart it specifically says that, like, I say some really harsh things to people that really upset people, and that does translate directly to me hurting my spirit guide's feelings. So I hurt my spirit guide's feelings too, and that's I just wanted to re-emphasize, and the fact that he came forward and he was being cooperative and directly in giving me direct instruction. Usually when he's upset with me, or is hurt by some things that I've been thinking or said that would primarily have to do with directly him, not me intentionally directing it to him, but just that he's inherently involved in, he gets upset, and just similar to me, he lashes out in anger, or he's vindictive sometimes, and that's primarily a defense thing with them. But the fact that I clarified from the get-go that I have nothing against him, I'm not angry at him or anything of the sort, he came directly forward and gave me direct instruction. Sometimes he's really vague depending on how much he feels I'm being cooperative or understanding on my end. And just for clarification for other people too, I'm not saying that I can't say that I'm the only person that can talk to the spirits this way, or talk to my spirit primarily. This is something that he hasn't necessarily wanted me to. Well, I mean, he just did tell me to preach, so I mean, technically preaching everything that I've learned. So I guess more or less, he won't be upset. Will you be upset? I don't think so. Okay. So the male spirit voice that people often hear in a lot of my spirit box sessions. I've talked to other starseeds or psychics or clairvoyant people who are intuitives who can sense things, obviously, even, in distance. People that have never met me before. And one kind of intuitive psychic person came forward, and she mentioned to me that I have a very intense energy about me, and that she knows that I'm a woman, but why does she sense a very, very dark, dominating, masculine presence? It's because that voice that you just heard, and the voice that has happened many times throughout some of my parapsychology investigations when I was first, getting into this and recording my experiences of what's going on. Some people have been, people that are quote unquote into, paranormal hunting or whatever like that, say like, how could you catch things like that? How do you have interactions or dialogue with things like that? And like, why are they so intense and scary? It does come off the same way as I come off to some people. And the reason why, because I'm so intense, so naturally my soul as a repercussion is intense as well, right? So funny enough, there are a couple of things that I could play here, that this is actually me. And so when my soul is talking about me, it's primarily, your soul sees not just you as an individual, and it's as an individual, it sees you as a group unit, as a we, as a me, you. You notice that I called him me, you, because it's me and you. We're both the same. So everything that you are, your soul is too. And yeah, that's also the stemming of depression and mental adversity and issues and stuff, is that if you're directly just making your soul unhappy, think of if you had some sort of, kind of outline plan for life, and then you totally scrapped it, forgot about it, and then went completely against the plan, and then like basically shat all over your own soul and like said, well, screw you. It's like that child, being completely disrespectful and going against everything a parent, was hoping that they would be and had in their best interest. So it was because of how psychotic and angry I used to be. I'm a Plutonian, toxic, that my soul was still like that. Your soul gets like that too. So as above, so below. Like if you're disgusting or a toxic thing on the outside, you're inside as well. And that's what it told me. So listen to this. Hey. Oh, wow, that's crazy. Wow, so when the flash goes... Psychotic? Oh, yeah. Well, we're new to Gemini, aren't we?
And you are self-pronounced.
Yeah, are you psychotic? I mean, I shouldn't ask you that.
We are.
Because you shouldn't actually be asking anybody that. Because that's the worst thing you should actually say. Because that usually causes psychotic people to be psychotic. You were? Oh. Are you not psychotic anymore? Oh, God.
Are you more?
Joke's on that. I'm a Gemini rising. And actually, because my North Node is at 2 degrees of Aries, and for your Draconic, which is your soul's chart, your soul's personality, you just have to crank it back till it's 0 degrees of Aries for the North Node. My soul's rising, quote unquote, and me have the same rising. So when it said we were, yeah. And then this one also. Or are you somebody else? Say yes or no. Outstanding. So it's because I guess that you're Andrew. Alright, Andrew. So if this is you, would you like me to help you cross over? Yes or no? Positive word or negative word? Positive word means yes, negative word means no. You're still here. Don't treat me like I'm stupid. So evil. So that means you don't want my help. Of course he doesn't want my help, because if he crosses over, so do I. That's the whole thing of it. And when I mention Andrew, it's because of the town I was born in, Virginia City, there has been accounts not only from it was the people who owned it after me and my family moved out said they've never seen any kind of haunting stuff or had any kind of weird stuff go on ever since. It was primarily my older cousin said that she saw me talking to some shadow thing that would then dart out of my room and run through the wall. That it tried to numerous times hurt people in the house. And primarily like a friend of mine or whatever. Like one of the doors just came off the hinges without warning when we've never had issues with that and almost crushed her to death. And I looked at the history of the house and there was that house has a history of the owners dying of all the same actual ailments. But one of the people who just inherited the house and then died shortly afterwards was named Andrew, and I found like his birth certificate and everything like that, and I used his actual birth chart, and I used like, you know, the creation of the house when it was built, and myself, and it basically said that combining his energy with the house and me, that the house is quote unquote going to be attached to me. And so who I attributed to that dark shadow thing that would talk to me when I was younger, I assumed and gave the identity of that as Andrew, which Andrew Cassidy was one of the owners of that house in Virginia City, Nevada. So when I said, I guess it's because I guessed you're Andrew, and he said outstanding. Not confirming that he is Andrew, but confirming that he has been the thing that's been with me my whole life. And so when people go, oh, it's fucking bullshit, like all the, you know, interactions and shit you get. No, it's not. It's because I'm an intense person. I can never stop talking. Vicariously, my soul's the same way. And also, I used to hate pictures and selfies.
I'm gonna do something, okay? I'm gonna try to take a selfie, like, in the back.
And people who know me from a long time ago, too, like, if people would have done something that I don't like, I do physically get involved. Like, if somebody were to, like, physically take a picture of me in, like, in the past, I would physically just take control of whatever they're trying to take a picture of me of, and that makes sense. So think of that being my old mentality as opposed to who I am now, and then think of this interaction that went on.
I'm gonna do something, okay? I'm gonna try to take a selfie, like, in the background, right? Okay? So obviously I'm not gonna be able to have a light per se, so this is your chance to essentially take a selfie with me, okay? Ready? Hold on, I don't know what you just said. Ooh, did you just do that in my hand? Why? Why do I want to take a selfie with you? Because I want to prove that you exist. I mean, do you have a problem with that? Ow, did you do that to my hand, dude? That's not okay.
So what was actually going on at the time is I had my phone up like I was going to take a selfie, and my actual hand that was about to take the selfie, I had this horrible, like it was almost carpal tunnel to the worst extreme pain right here, and it shot all the way up my arm, and my arm hurt for hours after that because it didn't want me to take a selfie with it because it doesn't like pictures and it doesn't like to be seen, and that's how I used to be. Yep. So that's the big secret about that. And yeah, so that's also another thing that people need to be aware of. There's no huge, like, people who are gifted to talk to spirits or whatever like that. Everybody has the capacity to talk to their soul, and their soul's giving them all kinds of, you know, insight or signals or hints or something like that all the time. It's just very, very subtle. And unless you're thoroughly paying attention to yourself, your habitual behavior, the patterns in which you emulate, you won't be able to pick out when those are happening. And that's the problem. That's why knowing yourself and you know the gods and you'll have connections to that. And until I actually started becoming very well rehearsed and aware of those subtle, you know, patterns, like for example, the planetary times app is a great start with that. Getting an actual transit app and just instead of just marking it for, basically the way I taught myself astrology with transits is primarily not to study books that tell you, but actually get an astrology app. And when you look at the news, I started doing that when I looked at the news at 5 o'clock every afternoon, watching it, and I saw the same kind of themes of stories come up. I looked at the actual app and I took a screen cap where I wrote down, like, there was you know, a group death by, you know, a transit or something like that, and this was the planet lord of the day, and these were the aspects going on, or these were the houses that this was in, et cetera, when there's deaths, illnesses, pandemics, et cetera. And when I start to notice those things, then I actually attribute those aspects to those events, and that's actually how I became accurate with predicting transits. And it started primarily too when I would look at things and see, hey, so every single time this is going on, I do something similar like this. And I utilized, actually looking at my records and things I posted, patterns of the same kind of things, on social media, and then looking at events, and then looking at transits myself to teach myself that. So that's the whole concept of you knowing astrology and then knowing yourself, and you'll know the gods in the universe, and you'll have altruistic Pythagoras kind of perceptions, etc., etc. Like, I never used to be into this sort of thing, and obviously my soul has been there my whole life, and even from accounts of my family when I was younger, the shadow thing going around, obviously it was talking to me then, and it didn't talk to me, ever since. I'm starting to piece together that has something to do with Saturn transits as well, but primarily it could have had the opportunity, and it could have found other ways, because I felt pressured to download the app that I use to talk to it now last year. And it could have pressured me to do this kind of thing a long time ago, because Tesla's theory of, talking and speaking to angels is a thing that's been well known for quite some, well, not well known, but, has been a thing, that has been created or theorized for a long time. I can't even remember when Tesla was actually alive. But, yeah, so that's the other thing that I keep trying to point out to people. If they're having paranormal experiences, just like I did, I have all those, eyewitness experiences and stuff, and because I'm almost the same thing as my soul is, I have the same intuitive kind of like spider sixth sense that something's coming, even if it's my own soul. So that's actually explains that one photo I got of something coming out of my phone talking to me, that was the thing that hurt my arm in the cemetery, that looks exactly like me, and it looks like, oh shit, I just got caught. And I still haven't been able to figure out what the hell it was. That was me scaring the bejesus out of myself, because it knows that if it scares me, that's the only, way to get a Plutonian to actually react and do something, is to scare the fuck out of them or make them feel powerless, to where they feel the need to, basically one-up the situation and figure out how to gain control back again. And it got caught. Yeah. Yep. So again, all paranormal and haunting stuff, when like Zach Bagans and like people who continually have like experiences and shit like that, or like the spirits that call the same fucking people like Nick Groff and Zach come back, that's their fucking spirit fucking with them. Like, because everybody actually, they're getting to the point where they're so powerful and so intense that they can actually, manipulate physical objects in actual life. That people are like, oh my god, it's spooky ghosts and stuff. It's not that they want you to believe that. They're just going to continue to, basically ride the wave of the hype of you being freaked the fuck out and interested in spooky paranormal activity, stupid movies and shit, because that's the only thing that they've been able to do to get through to you to acknowledge that they exist. And they're hoping that eventually, like what I did in this past year, that people bridge the gap and fucking realize that the same thing that keeps repeating shit to them, or the same kind of patterns of interactions with them that they're having, are the fucking same. And how is it possible for them to have the same kind of reoccurring events and experiences in different places, when the only thing that's not changing variable-wise in the environment is the person? That would insinuate that the spiritual activity is directly a bond or a connection to the person that's experiencing them, aka it's your fucking spirit fucking with you. And I think some people's spirits are literally just fucking with them because they honestly do think that they're a lost cause at this point, and a lot of people fucking are, unfortunately. Because if it's come to this point where, yeah, they have this much effects on the physiological mundane world, then they've been trying for a long fucking time to get people's attention. So again, everybody who's been seeing ghosts, feeling ghosts, or whatever, yeah, that's your soul. There's not a fucking ghost or somebody that died in your house there with you. Yeah. The end.